How to make an application HIPAA compliant. If you're developing an application that will handle electronic protected health information, ePHI, you'll need to make sure it's HIPAA compliant. HIPAA, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, is a set of regulations designed to protect patient data and ensure privacy. In this comprehensive guide, we'll take you through the process of making your application HIPAA compliant. What is HIPAA compliance? HIPAA compliance refers to the measures taken to ensure that healthcare organizations and their business associates protect patient information. This includes not only physical safeguards, such as secure storage and access controls, but also technical safeguards, like encryption and authentication, as well as administrative safeguards, such as policies and procedures. Why is HIPAA compliance important? HIPAA compliance is important because it protects patient data from unauthorized access, disclosure, and theft. It helps ensure that patients have control over their personal health information, PHI, including who can access it and for what purposes. HIPAA compliance is also important because failure to comply with HIPAA regulations can result in significant penalties and fines. How to make an application HIPAA compliant. Making an application HIPAA compliant involves several steps, including identifying the scope of the application, conducting a risk analysis, implementing appropriate security measures, and ongoing monitoring and training. Let's take a closer look at each of these steps. Identify the scope of the application. The first step in making an application HIPAA compliant is to identify the scope of the application. This means determining what data the application will handle, where it will be stored, and who will have access to it. You'll need to identify all the ePHI that the application will create, receive, maintain, or transmit. Conduct a risk analysis. Once you've identified the scope of the application, the next step is to conduct a risk analysis. This involves identifying potential threats and vulnerabilities to the application, evaluating the likelihood and impact of those threats, and identifying appropriate security measures to mitigate or eliminate the risks. Implement appropriate security measures. After conducting a risk analysis, you'll need to implement appropriate security measures to protect the ePHI. This may include encryption, access controls, authentication, audit logs, and regular backups. You'll also need to implement policies and procedures to ensure that the security measures are being followed and that any breaches are reported and handled appropriately. Ongoing monitoring and training. Finally, you'll need to engage in ongoing monitoring and training to ensure that the application remains HIPAA compliant. This may include regular security audits, staff training, and updates to policies and procedures as necessary. Conclusion. Making an application HIPAA compliant is an important step in protecting patient data and ensuring privacy. It involves identifying the scope of the application, conducting a risk analysis, implementing appropriate security measures, and ongoing monitoring and training. By following these steps and staying up to date with HIPAA regulations, you can help ensure that your application is compliant and secure. Remember, HIPAA compliance is mandatory for healthcare organizations and their business associates that handle ePHI. Failure to comply with HIPAA regulations can result in significant penalties and fines. So, take the necessary steps to make your application HIPAA compliant and protect patient data.